right now. And it will be uploaded on QWF's YouTube channel. Please keep yourself muted unless you have been given the floor to talk. There will be a question and answer session at the end. If you do have any questions during the presentation, feel free to put it in the chat. The presenter will try her best to answer them, but don't worry, there will be a dedicated opportunity to ask questions at the very end. So before I hand it off to our lovely guest for today, just a very brief word about who we are. We are the Quebec Writers Federation. We're an art service organization that provides English language programs, services, opportunities, and community for aspiring, emerging, and established writers and the wider community. We have workshops, mentorships, literary awards, two journals, a literary cabaret, and several more programs, including our Lunch and Learn, which you're currently attending. So if there's anyone in our audience today who is not a member of QWF or would like to learn more, feel free to get in contact with us after this presentation. So this Lunch and Learn is a monthly series where we invite other organizations or speakers to deliver presentations, either to discuss on a hot topic that is of interest to our members, such as how to get started with video game writing or how to work with a literary agent, or in the case of this month, to introduce an arts-based organization or institution to our members. So our guest this month is the Morrin Centre. The Morrin Centre is a nationally recognized heritage site built over 200 years ago and is the leading English language cultural center in the heart of Old Quebec City. It houses one of the world's most beautiful Victorian libraries and offers diverse events, including the Imagination Festival. Our speaker is Jeanne Lebossé-Gautron, the Director of Programming and Communications at the Morrin Centre. Jeanne is an avid leader who cultivated her love of literature into university degrees and a school internship in the Morrin Centre Library. She joined the Morrin Centre in 2020 as events coordinator and has now been Director of Programming and Communications for a little over a year. Since joining the Morrin Centre team, she has organized and managed multiple editions of the Imagination Writers Festival and of the Arts Alive Quebec Festival, along with a wide variety of other cultural projects. So take it away. I'll remove my spotlight now.
I will share my screen again. And it should work. Yes, I can see my little face and you can see the presentation. Wonderful. Thank you, Riley. That pretty much the gist of it for who I am and a little introduction to the Morrin Centre. I have well, you can see behind me now a really nice photo of the exterior of the Morrin Centre. So we'll be talking about this building, which a lot of people, even in Quebec, I will say, when they walk outside, because we're on a little side street, don't necessarily know we're there, but are always pleasantly surprised by everything that we offer. So without further ado, there we go. Little overview. I have a very rough schedule of things I'll be presenting to you. As Riley said, if you have any questions as I chat, feel free to write it in the chat or raise your hand. And there will be a session of questions if you prefer to keep them for the end. So I'll give you a brief overview of the history of the building, which is the thing most people are curious about when they discover what the Morrin Centre is, a little bit about our programming pillars, which divide all of our activities and direct sort of a through line of everything that we organize in cultural programming, among others. A little bit more about the library specifically, as that is a very popular part of the center, a little bit of additional information, and then any questions you might have. I'll also point out that the lovely photo that's above me right now, that I'm half hiding here, but that lovely photo that I'm no longer hiding, is from a recent event we held in late February this year, which was our special 1824 gala. So we had people in costumes learning. In this photo, we had a little dance workshop with historical dances. So that's sort of a teaser of the type of activities and programming we offer. Oh, there we go. The building history is roughly divided in three and then sometimes you can add a little and a half at the end. The first section is really the jail. So the building is pretty old, as Riley mentioned. The building used to be the first common jail in Quebec City. So it was built in 1808, and the prison opened in 1812. So it was a very an active prison. Anyone in Quebec City, it was the only common public prison, where before there were only like military prison for soldiers. And this prison started with a lot of very good and interesting ideas. They were very careful about hygiene. They didn't want it to get too crowded. The prisoners were working and getting education. People were split by crime type. So if you had, not paid your taxes, you were not housed with the people who had murdered people, for example. Um, so the prison was active from 1812 to 1867. Um, Later in the construction, there was also another wing that was created, which was specifically for the women's prison. Um, and a fun tidbit of history, there were hangings. There were 16 hangings throughout the history of the prison, all but one happening before 1840. And then not very long after that, capital punishment was abolished in Canada, but there were 16 hangings, mostly for the crimes of murder, and then some for theft, but hefty theft of, like, at the time, thousands and thousands of dollars. Um, as things happen, eventually the prison had too many people, so they built a bigger one on the Plaine d'Abraham. For those of you who have come to Quebec and have visited our Musée National des Beaux-Arts, that is the second prison that was built, and people were transferred there. When the prison closed, not even a year later, it was turned into the second era, the college. It feels a little odd to move from a prison to a college, but they were nice enough. They removed the bars from the window so the students didn't feel too claustrophobic. So really, the prison closed in 1867, and by 1868, it was a college. The college already existed, but moved into that building at that time because they wanted a better space. And it was founded, you'll see the link, on the initiative of a Dr. Joseph Morrin. We have kept his name, and that is why we are called the Morrin Centre now. But it was on his initiative. This man was a former mayor of Quebec City and also a prominent doctor. And he left all of his money for the construction, the opening of that college, which was affiliated with McGill. So there's a little Quebec-Montreal link here, which allowed people in Quebec City to get a degree from McGill without having to go all the way to Montreal. Funnily enough, and nicely enough, it was also one of the first institutions to accept women at a college level. It was co-ed classes, they were all mixed. They accepted them at about the same time at McGill, but several decades before Université Laval. So it was a nice little boost for that specific college. They had the opposite issue that the prison had. Instead of having too many people, they ran out of students. Sadly, within a couple decades, the college had to close, and then they moved on to sort of the half era that I mentioned. When the college opened, uh, it's to teach students. They needed this space for manuals, and the Literary and Historical Society of Quebec, which by then had already survived two fires and had had to move buildings a couple of times, asked if they could be housed within the Morrin College. And so when the college opened in 1868, the LHSQ also moved in. The library, the photo you see, is still very close to what it looked like. The shelves are still there. The floor is still the same, although it was revarnished a couple of times, I will admit. All of the tables and chairs are artifacts. So the LHSQ settled in that library with the agreement that they would spend some money on school manuals every year. Um, and when the college closed, the LHSQ was very well settled. So that little half era, we had the jail, we had the college, and then the LHSQ stayed there as the library. As the building stopped being as used as it had been during the college era. The library stayed very active. It is the only English language library in Quebec City, so all the English community used that library when they wanted to borrow books. And then eventually the LHSQ decided that it was a shame to see this building unused and worked to restore the building. So let me just scroll down to my little notes. There we go. In the early 2000s, a very big restoration project was started. I won't go into the details, but if ever you're curious, I do have links. I can send you to a nice presentation with our architect. But it did take a good decade, to do the bulk of those restorations. So the building was very beautiful. The library was in decent shape because it had been kept in use, but a lot of the building needed heavy restoration to be usable while still keeping its historical aspect. In 2011, it was officially opened as the Morrin Centre that we now know. The Morrin Centre is also a mix of things. We have kept that little historical spread in the things we offer. So we do still have that library, but we do still remember that college aspect and also the jail, which does impact a lot what the Morrin Centre offers nowadays. So let me just click on there. There we go. So the Morrin Centre now is both a cultural center, a museum, a library, and also open for rental. We offer a wide variety of things, which I'll get into more details in a little bit. But this Morrin Centre is managed still by the LHSQ. So the LHSQ has existed for now 200 years. We celebrated the 200 last year. Was founded by the Earl of Dalhousie, Governor of Lower Canada at the time, and had and still has for mission to collect historical documents and work on sharing information and knowledge, which does mix nicely with the still active library, which has a lot of Canadian literature, a lot of history documents, biographies, information in general that people can consult. We also kept a little bit in the current Morrin Centre of the LHSQ publications. They used to have the Transactions publication, which we now use a little bit still as a section in our magazine, which is the Society Pages. There is a section called Transactions, so we keep that a little bit in there as well. Now, the Morrin Centre is very active nowadays, I will say. For such a small team, we do a very wide range of things. We have three main pillars that I mentioned earlier that do guide our general programming and services. So we have heritage, arts, and education. Within the heritage pillar, we do find the tours, which are offered for individuals. We do have tours open for the summer every day. So if ever you drop by Quebec City, we have about a tour every hour from 10 to 4. They are also offered to groups, but also to school groups. So we do get a lot of school children coming in, primary school, high school, college, who come and learn a little bit more about the English community history and the history of the Morrin Centre. We also have a lot of conferences. If you are a fan of history, we do have a number of historical conferences throughout the year. We have the recurring library lectures. We have some My Morrin, which is a member-led program where a lot of members will come and talk about history. We have specific projects. We've had a Building Our Community project last year, for example, which brought in people to talk about different Anglo organization throughout Quebec City. We also have special events linked to heritage. I mentioned early on the 1824 Gala with peoples in costume, learning dances. We do like to pair heritage and art or in education as we go. And we also have a number of exhibits, both our permanent exhibit, which is about the Quebec City jail and the people who walk through, both the prisoners and the workers. The art pillar is where the bulk of our cultural programming falls. I'm assuming, since all of you know the QWF, that a lot of you have heard about the Imagination Writers Festival. We do partner with QWF every year to offer at least one presentation, sometimes more, throughout that festival. So the Imagination Writers Festival is held every April. It's a 6-day festival bringing Canadian writers from all over the country. We also have the Arts Alive Festival, which takes place every August. If you are in Quebec City this summer on August 15 and 16, uh, take advantage, come have a peek, join us for the Arts Alive Festival. That festival brings in a lot of popular local arts. So we do have a lot of concerts, an artisan fair, family activities, a number of community presentations, especially musical, but generally artistic. We also have a lot of punctual projects as we go through our year. So we have ongoing right now, for example, Artistic Connection, which is a project that aims to bring to build intergenerational bonds. So we have older workshop facilitator presenting more traditional crafts. So we've had people lead a choir workshop, for example, and we also have younger facilitator presenting. We've had one in building stories through photography with a link to cinema, for example. And we encourage people to participate to build these links. We have the gala I mentioned earlier, a number of workshop series, culinary, photography. We had cultural fairs at the tail end 2 years ago, where we brought in a variety of communities, cultures to present and share that with the local community. So a wide range of artistic programming. And then education, we do have recurring educational activities. We have our story time every Saturday morning, our STEAM club every Tuesday evening. We have just starting on July 1st our Book Quest programming, which is our children's programming for the summer. We also have a book club for teenagers called Tween Tales, which meet about 4 to 5 times per season with a number of books. They're very fast readers. And also some programming in the schools. So we have the Junior Reading Club, where our education coordinator goes into the schools, meet with about a dozen students. They read a book, they play board games, and then they discuss the links between the two. So a wide range of activities targeted more to children from very, very young. Our story time is from 3 to 6 years old. To the older one, we have a journalism workshop series going on for teenagers right now, so late high school students. So a wide range of educational activities as well. My next topic is something that a lot of people like to learn about. We do have a very, very beautiful Victorian library at the Morrin Centre, which is a very active library. We do see a lot of visitors. It is an English language library, so texts in the library are either in English or bilingual in some cases, or trilingual in some of the kids' books. In the case of some kids' book, there is a very strong focus on Canadian literature and English language literature from Quebec City. We do have special little labels that people can spot these books on our shelves. It is not part of the public library systems. That is a very frequent question we get. If you have a Quebec City library card, you cannot use it in our library. It is a private library. It is a membership base. My apologies, but the membership cost is very low. It is an annual fee of $25, and which does give you access to both the library, our online resources, and a number of our events for free or at a significant discount in most cases. It is also accessible if you're just dropping by Quebec City, would like to have a look. We do have day passes, so for $5 per person or 10 per family, people are allowed during opening hours to just have a look at the library and discover it for themselves outside of our guided tour, which are a little longer, take an hour, but take you through the entire history of the building chronologically, which is also a pretty nice experience with our guides in full costumes. The library collection is very decent, pretty big. Our physical collection has about 20,000 books in circulation, and we have about 8,000 in our special collection, which you can see on the photo behind me. All of these books are part of the special collection. They're behind glass and are only accessible on appointment. So you do need to book an appointment with our head librarian so that you can actually access those books. Um, our collection also includes the Quebec Library Collection, which is an important collection in Canada's literary history. That the Quebec Library was founded in 1779, and the LHS did. Oh, sorry, the window cleaners just made me jump. And the LHSQ did take on the Quebec Library collection and are taking care of it. There is a very strong emphasis, I did mention it earlier, on Canadian, so history. There's also geology, natural science, travel logs. If you like nonfiction about Canada in general, you will find things to please you in our library. We also have a digital collection. So for those of you interested but farther away and you don't want to have to travel to Quebec to take and bring back the books, we do have a big digital collection. We have almost 2,500 books now, both ebooks and audiobooks. And that does include cookbooks, children's books, fiction, nonfiction. So there is a very wide range of things you can find there. The library also has its specific programming. I'll have the hours of the library later on, but it is open Wednesday through Sunday. There's two adult book clubs. So there's the Morrin Mystery Mondays and the Pixel and Pages book club that take place in the library. A number of workshops. So we have poetry workshops, we have overdrive workshops. To people so that people can come and enjoy a little bit, learn to talk about poetry, learn how to read poetry, but also how to use our digital resources because overdrive is not necessarily intuitive when you don't know it at the beginning. And then the library also has specific exhibits. So a number of our artifacts are permanently set up in the library, and we do have a little self-guided tour, a little booklet that is very fascinating to read if you ever drop by, called Reading the Objects Around Us. So it is a little guide of all the artifacts in the library, and the library also puts up a number of temporary exhibits throughout the year. There we go. As part of these artifacts, we have about 800 artifacts in our collection. So painting, toys, china, a number of different artifacts that are occasionally displayed. We have a special glass case next to the library that rotates into different exhibits throughout the year. As I mentioned, here you go, a couple additional information things. The library hours, the library is open Wednesday to Sunday, opens at 10 on Saturday, but otherwise noon to 4. And our tours for the summer are offered every day from 10 to 4, about every hour. They do alternate English, French throughout the day, but that is also all visible on our website. And the little Morrin.org and then underneath a number of slashes are the shortcuts if you are curious about things. So Morrin.org/events will bring you to the list of our upcoming events, /tours to the list of the different tours that we offer. I'm a little bit in the way. I'll move away a little bit so you can see it better later. But we do have a number of different tours offered to the public. We do have the Discovery Tour, which is our general chronological tour throughout the history of the building. We do also have regular tea time activities where you can learn more about Victorian tea time, the etiquette, the games, the history of tea, which are offered at least once a month. In the summer, we might bring it up to 2 a month. Which is a very, very interesting experience. You get to taste 3 different teas and a number of pastries from a local bakery. It's pretty nice. And then if I dug down a little bit, Morrin.org/library, you can learn more about our library and collection. I've also put 3 emails there. So info@Morrin is our general information email, but we also have, and I'll try, there you go, move to the side a little bit, a little too far. So cultural programming at Morrin.org, which is our cultural programming coordinator email, so information about all of our general upcoming programming, and then education at Morrin for our education coordinator, who touches on a variety of kids activities, but also outreach to schools and other educational organizations. That is the general information. Would anyone have questions about something I touched on or didn't? I'll let Riley point out people because I don't think I can see all of you.
Should it might be better if we stop screen sharing so I could also see
Yes.
everyone.
Let me do
Okay.
that.
And thank you for that lovely presentation, by the way. Learned so much about the Morrin Centre. So yeah, folks, if you have any questions, you can just raise your hand or you can also type them in the chat if you're a bit shy.
Are there a lot of music-based activities?
It varies from season to season. I will say in the summer, Arts Alive is very musically focused, but we do take a little bit of a break in the summer because people like to be outside and we have a building. But I will say recently we have brought in more and more musical things in the last year. We do have semi-regular concerts. We did a partnership with the Orchestre Symphonique de Québec. We always have at least one musical activity at our Imagination Festival. So we do have um, musical activities, maybe less of a strictly regular thing, but we do take into account what people ask for when they reach out.
Thank you. Luis.
Hi. What's the capacity for having a conference at the venue?
Yeah, we have two rooms that we really use for conferences. We have the library and we also have our college hall ballroom. The library, if we squish people in, we can fit between 25 and 50 people seated for a conference style setup, but the ballroom can fit up to 120 people.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Vina has a question, raising her hand.
Hi, could you speak more? Sorry, let me just do it this way, it'll be less awkward. Could you speak more to the programming? You said you offer intergenerational. Some artists or authors can do a program aimed at intergenerational audience. And do you have to be a member to present these programs? I know there's a bit of a distinction between what members can do and what non-members can do, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, so we have generally sort of three categories in our cultural programming. We have sort of our regular programming. So we have Imagination Festival, Arts Alive, our Literary Feast, which is our fundraiser event in November, things like that. We have our project-based cultural programming, which is dependent on grants. So we build a project, apply for a grant, and then have that project over a season or two. And then we have our My Morin programming. So when you're talking about the split between what members can submit and non-members can submit, the My Morin program is really built so that members can submit event activity proposals, and then our membership committee goes through those proposals and select a couple. We usually do between 3 and 6 a year. And these activity organized by members, you do need to be a member for that. These activities range from little craft workshops to a conference on genealogy to a concert by a local artist. It is very open to a little bit of anything that the members can suggest that our membership committee then selects from. And then our general projects programming, that is a little wider, but it does work on a project setup. So we will have, for example, right now, the Artistic Connection program with the intergenerational aspect. We have the program ongoing, and then we reach out to artists throughout that program to build the program, the project programming specifically. We do get a number of artists and authors just reaching out to us, pitching us. For example, I have a new book coming up next month. I'd like to organize a launch. Would it be possible? Or I am a poet and I have a book on craft poetry. I'd like to do a workshop. And then we have a bank of these artists and authors. And then whenever we have a project that would match, we go through that list and see if we can invite some of these people. So we do get a little bit of a mix, but yeah, it depends on the type of programming.
Thank you.
All right. And we have a few questions from chat from Helen. Can we have
Yes.
access to the titles in your digital catalog before subscribing?
I do believe you can. If you go on our website, and if you go morrin.org/library, you will get access to the Overdrive catalog, and I'm pretty sure you can browse without being logged in or anything. So you can see all of the titles, you can search for specific books, and then if you become a member, you use your card, your library card number and login to access and then actually borrow those books. But I'm 99% certain you can see those books without having to be a member yet.
Thank you. And Julie had a question. You're muted, Julie.
Yes, sorry.
It's
So,
okay.
I was just wondering about the books behind the glass, which I'm sure a lot of people love to see. Whether or not, I know it would be a really big undertaking, but are you considering, is the Morrin Centre considering at some point, if funds allow, maybe, you know, photography of each, like recreating the books digitally, or is that too big of an
Um,
undertaking?
I wouldn't be able to say. I think it would be very nice to have digital copies of all these books. It is a huge undertaking that would take a lot of time and a lot of money. So I think in the best of world where we can have both, that would be a very interesting project for us. But I don't think in the short or medium term it's in the works now.
Yeah.
Thank you. And also going back to the point earlier, I put a link in the chat for where you can go view the catalog at the Morin website. So you either select the catalog for the physical books or the catalog for the digital books. So Leia has a question. Leia is curious about getting involved in the Imagination Lit Festival as an author. Is there an application process or when is a good time to reach out?
Right. There's no specific application process. Usually a little bit like the artists for general programming, we get authors and publishers, editors reaching out to us throughout the year, presenting the author, the date of publication, the type of book, a little blurb of the book, a little media kit fairly often. And we sort of accumulate all of these suggestion and also build our own suggestion list from recent publication catalogs and things like that into a very, very long list. To give you an idea, last festival, last April, we had 28 authors, I believe. Our starting list of authors to select from was about 213, if I remember correctly. So we do build a very long list of authors throughout the year, and then we start going through that list, narrowing it down, and sending out the first wave of invitation, usually early fall. So I would say generally reaching out during the summer or right after, like in the spring or summer for the following year, is usually the best time to reach out because we're just out of the last Imagination Festival, so we can start thinking about the next one. And then we put that in a list and start reaching out in late fall, usually.
And just to ask another question, to whom should that be addressed?
Generally speaking, it can be to me, or it can be to cultural.programming@morrin.org. I can put my email in the chat as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So Frank has two questions. I'll read the first one first. They seem a bit different. So the first one is, first of all, excellent presentation. Thank you. I am in Quebec City most summer, so we'll visit this summer. Do you have public workspace in the library?
Yes, so as I said, it is a subscription library, so to be in the library, you need to either be a member or take a day pass. But as soon as you have either of those, you are free to stay in the library during its opening hours. We have the photo from above of the library with the two big tables. Those tables are free and accessible. There's another one in the back of the library. There are outlets if you are with a computer and you want to work in the library. We do get a number of students from the nearby university campus who come and work or study in the library. So that is accessible, but only during library opening hours specifically.
And Frank's second question was, do you have volunteer opportunities?
Yes, we do. We have a volunteer application form on the website permanently. It is at morrin.org/jobs. If you scroll, there's a description for the volunteer there. There's a form that you can then send to info@morrin.org. And we do have a number of events, notably the Imagination Writers Festival, the Arts Alive Festival, a number of smaller, more punctual events where we need help with setup, with check-in. For the gala, I had, I believe, 12 volunteers who met twice to learn the dances so that we could do a demonstration before the workshops. So there is a wide range of volunteer opportunity. There is also specifically volunteering for the children's activities if you'd like to give a hand to our education coordinator. And we also have committees that are mostly volunteer filled. We have our book committee, membership committee, and a number of other such committees throughout the year who help select what book we add to the library, to help go through the My Morrin proposals and things like that. So that is a wide range of things, and in the form you can specify what type of volunteering you prefer to do.
Perfect. And Julie has a question.
Yeah, Jeanne, I was wondering if for people who don't get to Quebec City often and want to look at your digital catalog, can we become members remotely?
Yep. Yes, you can apply to become a member online. We do have a nice little online form you can do everything through now on the website, which is at, and I'll put the link, or Riley's sometimes faster than me today. So on the website, there is a tab called Become a Member, and there is a nice little, there's a PDF of a form, if that's the format you prefer, that you can fill and then send in to info@morrin.org and then pay by phone. Or you can fill the form online and then it's through Zephy. You can become a member and you receive your library card by mail, but also by email. You get all the information and you can fully access our digital collection through there. There's also some hybrid events that you do get access to that way.
Okay, so there's no, just to clarify, I mean, it does sound like it's fully done on remotely, but just like my neighborhood library, you can join remotely, but then you have to go within a certain time frame, I think 6 weeks or 2 months with ID to et cetera, or no, okay, thank you.
Now, fully remote. We have people in the US who are members. They don't drop by the center to prove who they are. No, you can, yeah, fully remote.
Thank you.
All right. Any more questions, folks?
Mine's not a question. Well, it's sort of a question. I see you have a list of membership benefits. We
Yes.
do too. Maybe we should talk about doing something reciprocal.
Yes.
We actually do have an agreement
Oh,
with
okay. So we've got them, but they don't have us. Okay. Well, we
There-
can offer a discount to your members to join QWF.
I do believe that form needs to be updated as well. I think a couple of the numbers, and we had a 2 or 3 additions to that list since that image was put up. But yeah, we do have a long list of discounts at like cultural organizations and things like that if you become a member.
That's lovely. And again, for those in today's session who are members of QWF, our current agreement with them is I believe it's a free individual day pass. I'm looking at our list right now. So that's still good, Jeanne.
That should be, yes.
Thank you. Christian, who actually is from Quebec City.
Who is someone I did recognize. You're still muted, Christian. No. Technology.
Yeah. Christian, we can't hear you, but if you're typing, that's okay. Oh, there it is.
And can anyone see me? Or I don't know if my camera is on or.
We can hear you, but not see.
Okay, one second.
There we go.
Is this better? Okay. Hi, everyone. I just want to say it's how incredibly dynamic center it is, the Morrin Centre. There was this absolutely beautiful Beethoven concert that we attended. The Orion Howler Band that was recently, it was just an incredible concert. Imagination Festival was, it was breathtaking. It was it was just a beautiful, beautiful experience. And actually, right now, I'm participating in a workshop on visual storytelling in contemporary photography, and given by this very dynamic young music videographer and extremely talented art photographer. It is a wonderful place, very, very inspiring, very inclusive, and please do come and visit.
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you. It's a lovely sentiment. It's a good testimonial for someone who doesn't work there.
There you go.
Now, how do I get out? Okay, I don't know how to. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh.
There we go.
Any more questions? Wonderful.
Oh. And if you do have any more, you can always send them to me and I can forward them, or Jeanne has her email in the chat, but I see Julie raised her hand. So yeah, let's go to Julie. Maybe this might be your final question. And if you do think of anyone else, you can either type it now or raise your hand and I'll call you after Julie.
Sorry, it's not a question. I just wanted to say thank you
Aw.
because you know what? To the QWF and to Jeanne and the Morrin Centre, because I've lived in Montreal, so in Quebec, since 1997, and I had never heard of the Morrin Centre. So I'm really, really, I mean, obviously I don't get to Quebec City enough, but I'm very, very glad to know about it, and I'm going to get there this year for sure. So thank you.
And so will I. So yes, thank you, Julie. So I guess we'll call it there. We're ending 15 minutes early. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us. And of course, thank you to the wonderful Jeanne. And I hope I am pronouncing your name correct. Thank you for doing this session with us. It's been very helpful. It's definitely I've learned a lot. And yeah, I just really enjoyed learning more about your center, and I hope to see it this year as well, just like Julie.
Well, then I hope to see your faces at the Morrin Centre in the coming months, hopefully.
Thanks so much, Jeanne. We really appreciate it.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Riley.
Of course. Have a great day. Bye,
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.